Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first ArtHouseTO Live. This is the first ArtHouseTO Live. Well, it's the first Art House. I can't even say our own name. It's our first ArtHouseTO Live where we're going to actually chat with somebody else on today's show, and just waving to them now. We're going to be speaking with Kim Hines, and Kim Hines is out in Victoria on the West Coast, and Kim is one of the founders of Lived Experience of Homelessness Network, and we're going to have a chat with them and get the lowdown on what's going on the West Coast and see how we can support Kim as well. And I see Kim is right here, so let's just get right to it. Just before I do, I'm coming to you live from the East End in Toronto at our ArtHouseTO headquarters here at Danforth and Pape. If you want to come by for a tea, DM me, and let's strategize about how we can start the revolution and make this world a better place for everyone. All right, I'm bringing Kim on in. I'm going to wave to 47H46 first. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Leon, I am going to add you right now. See if I did it right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, there we are. How's it going?
Good, Kim. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome. It's really good to be here.
Yeah, and I'm just going to wave to a couple more people. Thank you, Heath Vig, for joining us. Thank you, everybody. I see the waves. And as I said, I'm new to this, so bear with me. I'm going to try to keep on top of comments, too. So if anybody has any questions for Kim, definitely please ask away. And I'm sure Kim will be more than happy to answer for you. And I'm going to keep trying to wave at people while I'm talking. We'll see how things go. I'm pretty good at doing more than one thing. Kim,
yeah,
a pleasure. Can I just start by saying I admire you. I admire the work you do. I've been following you now for what has it been, about 2 years, maybe?
Yeah, since COVID.
Ish. Yeah, it's been a while, right? Like ArtHouseTO is about 2.5 years old. We started right in the first month of the pandemic, and Instagram was a way. So ArtHouse, look at our website. Go to the link in our bio. You can find out more about what ArtHouseTO as a project is about. But in particular, Instagram was a way for us to connect, make connections, build community at a time when we weren't able to be physically with people, right? So I was thinking, well, how the hell can I be useful? How can we connect and build community around envisioning possible futures for this city, and not just this city, but that is, of course, our focus. How can we bring people together, cross-pollinate the amazing orgs that are doing incredible work on the ground, celebrate artists. Yay, artists!
Yeah.
You're the best. Art is medicine, and
That's
you are
right.
providing that medicine, right?
There's some of my
sorry, Kim, yeah?
there's some of my art right there that I did in the I guess the 90s when I was healing as a survivor from sexual abuse, child abuse. And I used years to heal, and I still am almost finished that one.
So that's that's powerful. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I love.
So there's a prime example right there, right, of using art as a way to heal, as a way to process. Yeah. Isn't that what so many people turned to during the pandemic too, right? Like to heal, to process, to express their stuff, to just work out their shit, right? Yeah. And art is that thing. So what I was saying with the Instagram and starting to reach out to people, I made a point of trying to connect with people who are doing work on the front lines and that are doing the good work, and to repost and show their work. So along comes Leon. In my searching, I came across Leon, and I connected with Kim, who's one of the founding members. So here we are today. We had an awesome Zoom chat last week.
Yeah.
Connected face to face, so to speak, for the first time.
Yeah.
So Kim, welcome. How are you today? How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I mean, yeah, I'm grateful for your intro. Like, really helps me to bring me in the moment. Like a lot of people, I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So my thing is, be grounded as much as I can and try and be in the moment. So, and I'm honored, like what you said, like, thank you. It's, it's hard for me to accept compliments still. And I'm, even as I'm accepting it and saying thank you, I'm a bit shy about it, but it's cool. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate,
Take it and own it, because
yeah,
you really do the work. Like, I watch you, I follow you, I repost your stuff. I repost in the stories when you're on the ground, out in the streets, providing for people, doing call outs when people are looking for
yeah,
tarps, when they're looking for supplies, when they're looking for food. And you're on it, and you're literally out going to people on the street, and you also have a
yeah.
connection as well, right? So good on you. Thank you so much. You are one of the humans that are making this world a better place. So if we can all just band together. Can you tell me a little bit more about Leon?
Yeah, no, like, even as I'm planning for this today, I was thinking, gee, I would like to be able to bring the cell phone out to the street. That's can't help it. I just think, like, how can I bring other people in, and not just some weird altruistic, white savior thing. It's more about, like, I come from poverty, north end of Winnipeg. My mom married young, got pregnant, fell in love with the James Dean kind of looking guy, the blue-eyed, handsome, white lineage man. I'm using that term these days to help us as white lineage people to, start looking at that more. And this is where you and I connected around Art House, was the whole networking thing. So it's like Leon Network is about that, is about, like, reaching out and connecting, and it is for all of us about survival. Like,
Yeah.
like we need each other, we need community, and everything keeps trying to divide us. And so it's like it's automatic now for me, out of, for quite a while now. And like I said, I was raised in the North End. Well, not raised the whole time, born in the North End of Winnipeg. And I'll answer that quickly. I'm a little bit, uh, the complex
Hey,
PTSD makes,
we're
yeah,
just having a conversation. So just,
exactly, yeah,
yeah, it's totally chill, dude. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I feel good about that. I feel pretty chill about it, but I'm also just waking up. um, but
Yeah, you're also 3 hours behind. So I'm like 1 p.m., but it's
yeah.
only 10 a.m. So.
And I'm like, is it 10? But it's all good. I'm happy to be here. But basically, it is, networking to me is about community and
Yep.
survival. It's natural. It makes sense that we do it, that we connect with each other, and everything's telling us to isolate. And but anyway, so the Leon Network was always about, and it started in 2013.
Yep.
That's when I formed it. So I put the call out to local people, other members of Leon, and they were like, "Yeah, do it, do it." And what had happened is, in 2013, for, like, oh man, it goes back. So from 2009 to 2013, a lot happened in Victoria, and the Raging Granny, Alison Acker, and the Committee to End Victoria. Phil Lyons was involved at the time. Rose Henry, quite a few people at the time. We were in a situation pre-Olympics that was pretty ugly here in Victoria, and so I was inspired, encouraged, told that I should do a film. So we made the feature film, Taking the Fall and Rising, and it was the beginning of me filming the police. And it
Yep.
was just an, I mean, I'm an activist. I was, like I said, born in the North End of Winnipeg, single mom on welfare, endlessly abused. I was, my mom was awesome. I'm a settler Acadian on my mom's side. I'm one of four siblings. My youngest sister is Métis. I'm as a result of an affair with a Métis, as my mom was trying to flee an abusive man, you know, in the 60s when there was no
Yep.
support thing. So it's like I come from struggle,
Yep.
and I come from, you know, what was called at the time mixed race relationships. And you know, the single mom thing, the pregnant before, you know, being kicked out of the Catholic Church, all these things. It was just, you know, and getting to the place of being homeless myself at 15. And you know, a lot of people, I got to come out as transgender. It's important to me. I'm transgender. I'm out about it. I was, you know, identified as tomboy as a kid before I was 9, and came out at, you know, when I was a teenage runaway. To be honest, that's when I came out. I had no idea, if you can imagine. I was this tomboy, butch, little dyke, really, and I had no idea. And I came out when I was a teenage runaway. And you know, a lot of story there that I'll touch on later. But
Sure.
um, 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 you know, even went through the fundamentalist Christian thing.
Yep.
Being told I was going to be the evangelist. Like, there's stories out there and stuff, and help me focus on, you know, that's okay. I'll get back around to it. This is what I liked about our Zoom, is the relationship between us, because you do the networking as well. And that's what the Leon is all about. Like, sometimes people, and I'm going to be all over the place, and it's okay, but sometimes
That's
people,
okay.
you know, like, Kim, why are you going to Burnaby? Like, you know, because I really talk to my peers when I'm doing outreach. Like, I just say, this is what's going on. And I show them things, and I bring them things, and I try and so we can come together. And they just appreciate that. It's been like 20 years of that. And to remember, I don't know how to turn off my notifications and still be in this. So you'll hear my little Robin Hood thing go off every once in a while, which I'm going to ignore. But
Yeah,
um,
if it's cool with you, it's fine with me. Yeah.
yeah,
All
it
good.
is right on. Thanks. It's good with
Yeah.
everybody. And I'm glad I can see people that are joining, and I hope more people join. But and I think, I guess I could. Yeah, right. Someone just said I could share it, so I'm going to do that. Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
And I'm
So,
also gonna post this later, just so you know,
oh,
and everybody else knows too. I'm gonna
cool.
post this on the ArtHouseTO feed,
Right on. Cool.
so people can watch it later for
Right on.
sure. Yeah.
But that's when
So,
that's
so
when the
with
that's when the
sorry.
filming the filming started in 2009, and that's
Okay.
Raging Grant Nelson Acker said, Kim, keep filming, because the police did not like that I was out there interviewing people about what was going on here on the ground. And I started to learn, even though I knew the police were a problem, even though I was already involved as a feminist, a radical feminist before the divide. I'm
Uh-huh.
transgender. But I knew, but I had no idea how aggressive they can be. I was always a frontline worker who had boundaries. So I was lucky enough to work in the field after being homeless. I was a young person hitting bottom in Calgary, Alberta. I went to Alpha House, and then I would years later work at Alpha House in Calgary. It was just an honor, and so my life has been an interesting tumble of stuff.
Can you give a brief about Alpha House?
Yeah,
Uh,
Alpha Calgary is an awesome. It was one of the first wet houses in Canada, way before anything else. And I was, I don't know, a few years clean and sober, and I alcoholics in my life who were abusive, and I still had a hard time being around people who were drinking, and it just really triggered me, and I needed to deal with it. And so I dealt with to therapy, and then someone said, Kim, you're ready to go for a job there, we need you there, you're experienced, you know. And so I got the job there, very grateful, very lucky. And they opened up a hat, like a drop in for people who were stoned, drunk, that kind of thing. You had to
yeah.
be under the influence to get into this particular drop in, and they opened
Mm-hmm.
as the people who were using were the most vulnerable homeless, vulnerable to other homeless who extorted or beat them up or hurt them. You know, I won't go on more about that. People get the idea. It's not cool how people
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
of homeless and social.
Right.
So they had a drop in on one side and a detox attached on the other, and
Mm-hmm.
it was incredible. Like, incredible. It was like a harm reduction model before even we were talking about harm reduction model,
Hmm.
because we really accepted people where they were at. boundaries. It was all behavior, like, you know, so someone's behaviors were a certain way, we dealt with those behaviors, and not projected judgments or whatever, that kind of thing. And
So
we had
on an individual basis, like you dealt with each person as that human.
exactly,
Yeah.
and incredible staff that helped me. Shelley, I believe her name was one of the sort of managers, not the top person, but one of the managers.
Mm-hmm.
JP was one, and this Shelley person whose husband was a cop, and he helped her have boundaries with the Calgary police. And I learned all the stuff about how to have boundaries with the police from a woman who was married to one who was actually one of those good cops, who did, you know, whatever he could in every capacity to, you know, understanding that things were not really in a good way. So I'll leave it at that. But they helped me a lot to deal with people who were drinking under the influence and not get so triggered around it, because I had my own almost judgments, but based on personal experience. So I
Yep.
worked there a couple of years, and it's still running. And they are now running a program, I believe, where they're giving people alcohol, so people can go in now, and that program works. That harm reduction program. There's one like this in Vancouver, I believe, where there's a whole apartment complex. If someone knows, maybe they can jump in. In Vancouver, they're doing a thing where people who are extreme drinkers could go live there, and they could get sherry every 4 hours, an ounce or
Yep.
something like that. And then within a very short time, most of them are requesting less and less because they're getting more and more community. It's just, you know, you let people make the choice, you know. Like, people ask me, how did I get here? I was in Calgary, a mess. I hit bottom. I was doing elephant tranquilizer. And I didn't know until this super intense city that that's carb fentanyl. And then I overdosed twice on it, and I in my own home overdose kind of thing. And lucky to be alive, I just dropped it. I wasn't using needles at the time or whatever.
Right.
And I was a mess, and I was only 22 or something like that. And so I was very young when I went into detox. But the thing is, it was all choice.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in a bad way. So a couple of women said, "Come and live in this basement." They totally helped me. I was in such a bad way. I can't even. When I look back, I just think, whoa, like, wow, I can't believe I survived. I mean, it was so unbelievable. I mean, I was doing I don't know, like a lot. Like, it's hard to imagine. But when I went in locally in the last couple of years for a lung thing, because I had walking pneumonia, I had to go in for a lung test, and they gave me fentanyl, carb fentanyl, right in the arm. It's a thing that hospitals give quite a bit, actually.
Yeah.
I needed 100 milligrams in order to stop coughing, and it freaked out the people. I guess I would learn later in the follow-up appointment, because in the follow-up appointment I said, I'm curious what you gave me, because I didn't have pain for 10 days. Like 10 days, like a week, 10 days, I had no pain. I have a lot of pain in my body every day for years. It's just the way it is. So you notice when you have no pain. And I was like, what did they give me? And then suddenly the day came when all the pain came back. And I was like, what the heck? And there's this rule that says it doesn't live in the body beyond X amount of hours. Well, you know what? Western medicine can't accept what Eastern medicine knows, is that you can't dictate what every body experiences and decide.
Because it's all going to be different, right? Depending on what you're,
Exactly. But anyways, all these things tied into the fact that, bringing it around, I started filming the police in 2009. And aging granny Allison Acker was the one who said, because I would get shaky when they'd come and be bully and try to intimidate me. And
were you still in Calgary at this point?
No, Victoria.
So now you're in. Okay, so you get to
Victoria.
So that was something I wanted to ask you, Kim. Was the transition from there to there?
Yeah, good. And thanks for drawing me back in. You're freaking awesome. I love you for that. I ended up in Alpha House.
It's the moderator in me.
You're awesome. It's like, oh man, I have a joke there, but I'll wait till later. But
okay.
But
so how did you? So you were in Calgary, but then you ended up in Victoria. So how did you end up in Victoria?
What a transition. So the quick story would be, Alpha House detox.
Yep.
um, treatment, halfway house, uh, like just treatment, a year of counseling,
Mm-hmm.
a year of like just everyday AA, weekly. I mean, I was immersed by choice. These are really important things that people don't have right now. I like as I was laying there, just sick as a dog at my mom's. I would never go to my mom's, but I knew things were not good. I went to my mom's, and as I come to in the bed, like not well. I mean, oh my god, I can't even things I was on. Okay, besides the carb fentanyl, and she goes, Kimmy, now, yeah, do you want to go to a detox? There's people on the phone. Do you want to talk to them? And I was like, yeah. She puts the phone to my ear, and they say hello, and they say, yeah, this is Kim Hines. I was so out of it, and they said, would you come to detox? I said, yeah, and they were there in 15 fucking minutes. Okay, I'm
Wow.
not you. My mom had everything already in a bag for me, like toothbrush, toothpaste. The cab came. They helped me down the stairs. They helped me there. I was in the rubber room for 10 days, which was, I guess, unusual. And I think, the youngest person at the time to be in detox. And
Wow.
someone said to me, because I would come to and I'd be self-hate and I'm going to hell and, I don't care if I die. And I was just so negative. And this person, Vi, her name was Vi, she worked in the detox, and she says to me, somehow, maybe just put all that stuff on the back burner for now. And she was a Baptist or something. Not no no. She always said, Kim, I wasn't a Baptist, but somehow I believe she was a Christian. She said somehow something that made me believe that, and she said that God would be okay with you putting this on the back burner, and I believed her.
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, that really did change my life. People just kept giving me options. Do you want to go to treatment? Yeah. Do you want to go to the halfway tree? I mean, it was just like, but nowadays it's like the police are the ones who are going to the street and saying, hey, I can get you into detox, or you're not getting into fucking detox. What the hell? I mean, when I was a kid out there, a teenager, everybody knew to stay away from the police. That's the
Yeah.
only thing. I didn't know. It was like we just stayed away from them. It was like instinct. We knew. Unbelievable now. And like it's unbelievable what I saw here, just to bring it right to the moment. What I saw in
Yep.
2020 and why we connected was the extreme of seeing, little BC Housing woman. Finally, BC Housing comes out, and you'll see pictures and videos on my stuff going back to that time. And there's all these police around her, and they're the ones talking to the freaking homeless person. It just blew my mind. Unbelievable. I mean, if Shelly is still alive from Alpha House, like, whoa, like, not cool. And I worked the field for
Yeah.
years. Yeah. So those kind of
So
things,
police and police are generally the point of contact, right?
it's
And
not cool. It is true.
escalating situations, causing more trauma,
Yeah.
causing violence.
Yeah.
And we see. I mean, we see it in Toronto here too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
who can forget the violent invasion, I call it,
Yeah.
on our encampments in Trinity Bellwoods, in Lamport Stadium,
Yeah.
I think Alexandra Park as well. And, I would hope appealing to people's sensibilities is enough to
Yeah.
care about it. But so when on the very day that Trinity Bellwoods was happening,
Yeah.
I was just so fucking furious, and
Yeah.
as everyone should be
Yeah.
about that kind of response.
Yeah.
And I just went right to town and started doing math, and that was my post on that afternoon. Was I'm just going to do all the math. How much does this actually cost? Because some people need to hear that, right? Like
Totally.
they need to hear that, well, this is your money, it's taxpayer money. I'm sorry I have to bring this up, that caring for people is not enough, but okay. So it's over $2 million over 3 encampments, over $2 million of taxpayers' money to violently traumatize and evict people who are now going to have irreparable damage done from that incident
Yep.
alone,
Yep.
right? Let alone already dealing with your shit that you're dealing with and trying to survive.
Yep.
And this brings me back to something you mentioned, was community.
Yep.
And I think the biggest thing from what I observe is that it breaks up community, and the way that the city So we have Novotel, where everyone's being evicted by the next week, actually. People are getting evicted from there. These are the responses of the city. Let's put people in hotels. We'll isolate them. Nobody can commune. You break up a community that's already there. I think that's missing from that conversation, right? It's not just here's a roof over your head. Here's a community that was already established there, and a community of support that you just fucking blitzkrieg and just completely decimated.
Yep.
And now how does that help people, right? Like, why not build on what's already there? And you know, I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir here. Like, it's
no, but it's
so
good to talk about it. I'm glad you're talking about it, because that really upset us here. Like what happened in Toronto and Hamilton, I mean, that really upset me. I was in tears at times. And it's like, just get the word out, get the word out, get the word out. And as people would learn about it, they'd be like, what the heck? And
yeah.
they did not want us to get the word out. So you
And it's that, and it's also another example of how that our colonial capitalist machine in place pits us against each other, because now you've got also young security guards who are making shit money, who are now between the people and the encampment and the cops, and they're thrown in there. You know what I mean? And like, I felt for them. I felt for them too.
Yeah.
You know, half of them didn't even know that that's what they were going to be doing that day.
And see,
you know what I mean?
Need to talk about that, because like we often talk about defund the police and all this kind of stuff, but I'm into the detail. So what you said is something really important. They hire people, a lot of people who don't know, and they're doing this right now in the front line with, like, part of it is opportunism. So the opportunistic greed capitalist, many of them knew things were coming. So they were prepared to jump on that opportunism, whereas people were there to jump in and help community. And that was awesome, and it still is. It still is the best thing to get out.
And much love to everybody, right, who came out and continues to do so.
A lot of people did. Like, I mean, the first time I went out here in 2020, you know, I went through the AIDS crisis. It was a difficult time. We learned a lot, and then there's, you know, since then there were other crises, you know, so I knew enough to be right out in the backyard the day they shut the door on everybody. In Victoria, it happened everywhere in Canada, slowly in different times, but it did. The doors were shut on all of the unhoused people, period. Stop there. And they had no services ready. But all those opportunistic greed people were ready to do what they did, and they moved ahead with their stuff. So it was really, community ended up, you know, doing what it did. And I just want to say kudos to Reverend Allen. Ben is it. So when I went out there on Pandora, it was like just wow, because the sheer desperation, and they did not know because they weren't connected in. So I kept telling people what was going on globally. And then I would do it every day. But that first day I go out and had the gloves, and I was out there just like, you know, trying to be really aware and careful, and boom, suddenly there's Ben Nissen right in front of me. And I was like, Ben, he's like, Tim, and we've known each other through environmental movement and learning about Indigenous, you know, sovereignty, learning about, you know, that whole struggle, learning, you know, because I always came from a radical feminist, anarcha-feminist base. And moved here to Victoria. So I was from Calgary, hitting bottom, going through all that clean and sober, getting those jobs, getting a job working fire tower. I needed some sanity. I needed some downtime. I had years of just whoa, like just years and years and years and years and years, and I needed to go away. And I did 3 years of.
I've actually had dreams of working that job.
Oh, it was
just to be up in the middle of nowhere and above the trees, and
it was just.
I mean, I know it's a job; you've got a responsibility there, but also
it was awesome.
Maybe a nice retreat too, eh?
It was awesome. There was enough, you know, it was more, you had to get connected into the reality of nature. However, you really quickly learn industry. So that's what changed me about environmental. That's when I started getting involved, because I was like, this is disgusting. We are in environmental crisis. I won't get into that much, but so I left that. And then I needed more class awareness. So, and I was, and like, I just need to, and I wasn't getting it there in Calgary. it felt like I didn't have the understanding and analysis that I have now to understand what was going on then. But I felt like I couldn't grow anymore there. So I moved to the West Coast. It's like literally what happened. You know, everywhere you do stay or go, whatever, the struggle comes. And I realized later in life, it's kind of a good idea now that settler white lineage people learn to stop as soon as we see a crisis, we go, oh, we're just out of, as soon as we're able. So the most privileged are always able to leave first. The most able to think, the privilege of the mind, thinking.
Do you think that is a lack of lived experience?
No, it's well.
What do you think it is? Like, why?
It's what happens to the colonized mind, and we have generations to heal intergenerational trauma. Like, my family showed up here in 1634 or 38. One of those two boats that came in. I think it was the second one. I have a memory issue. I figured it out, and I'm a Bourque, Acadian on my mom's side. Her mamere, my mamere was a Pelland. And going back to Bourque's, like, it's just one of those things. And my sister, Métis, Leonard Lavalley is her dad, and I was from an affair, Tommy Gladue, and Tommy Gladue and Leonard Lavalley were best friends. And it's a weird Shakespearean story because my sister is 6 years younger than me. So when I was maybe 3, my mom was trying to flee an abusive man in Winnipeg. She was a little 5'2" Acadian, and there was no services. So she just kept building community around her, and she ended up going to the bars. And Tommy was just a really good, gentle, loving, big man who did not put up with abusive people. Like, he was a big Métis, Tommy Gladue, musician, singer. I have photos of him. I'll see if I can grab it when you chat next. But it was an affair, and it was what it was. And 6 years later, my mom still was struggling, but she finally fleed Bob. But then Leonard, and he was another really good man who didn't put up with, bad men, violent men, that kind of thing. And they were known in the north end of Winnipeg, and they sang together. They were sort of Johnny Cash, Men in Black type guys. Well, Leonard was more Men in Black, and Tommy was more the 1950s Western musician. Those where they all dress up in all those bright polyester. But they're, really, so that was my dad. But I can't claim Métis ancestry. I'm not, one of those things. I've done what I can to try and reach out to the family. It's just most difficult. I haven't been able to, and that's fine. I tell the story what it is. I know who my mom is. I tell the story as it is. I don't, I wasn't even raised Acadian. I found out when Mayor died that we were Acadian, and I was like, "What's that?" And that was the beginning of that story. But
let's go to now.
Yeah. So I came here as a
tell me a little bit about what you're doing at the moment with on the streets too, because as I mentioned, you're very active, you're very busy. Supporting. So can you tell me a little bit about that and the work that you're doing right now?
Yeah, well, I'll let people know the umbrella over it is that I do have a disability, and that it's been, triggered off and on, mostly not just because of the pandemic, which was enough stress for everybody, but also the police state, which are not very happy with Kim from Leon, Kim Hothead. So I'm known as Hothead, which is hot-headed about injustice. And it comes from Hothead Python, the comic Hothead Python. And it's written by a lesbian animator. And when I was in therapy, counseling for being a child abuse survivor of sexual abuse, and having to survive and flee and get away from so many, unhealthy males. And some females as well, unfortunately, but predominantly men. So I was in that therapy, and it really helped me a lot. And but I needed to really get the anger out. And I just, a long story, it was very difficult for me. I didn't want to scare people with yelling. I didn't want to, scare people with, yelling or whatever, which was a lot of the anger healing at the time. And so all this to say, my therapist finally realized art. It's going to be art. And it was art. She helped me to get into art and become an artist. But
and that was starting with like painting, like
yeah, painting and it was feminist women really helped. I was involved in the feminist community. A lot of them are artists, theater, painters, like Nancy Cullen, theater, Zoe Dodd, I can't remember some of the names, but some of them are here. Like maybe eventually they'll see this, but I give respect to all those women because they helped me become this artist. That's what happened. I'm losing my train of thought a bit, but about what's happening now, the police and stuff. Yeah. So
and just a bit more so the viewers can understand a bit more what you're doing, like on the daily, like so even just a typical day, like when I was talking to you just last week, and you were saying I'm out doing a drug check, I'm checking on OD and people on the streets and making sure, like even just that day, like just to give it a sort of a window. Yeah, so I'll give you a window, like that kind of a window. So we had this crisis going on suddenly when I was out on my bike. So I involved myself. Police were running all over the place, so I pay attention to what's going on. And I'm able to, so I'm not, running to a job or whatever. But so I just paid attention and found out that we were in an overdose crisis. And I can't help but notice that the first overdose in Centennial Square had probably about 5 or 6 bylaw around the situation. You had the ambulance people, maybe 4 bylaw, a couple police. And the person's lying there. By the time I get there, I realize they're okay. It's like, your heart rate goes back down a bit. The person is surviving. But they all continue to stand there. And you see it in the video I post on Instagram. And the paramedics leave and all that. The ambulance leaves. And the bylaws stay and stay and stay. And it's just like, it's like in all the years I worked frontline, we could never get 24/7 funding. But these police keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and the police state apparatus keep pushing, and they're just like, they're what do you call it, infiltrating, and like they're infiltrating everything. And it's like, I don't know how to say it better than this, and my apologies, but they're pissing their blue line on other people's territory. That's BC Housing. Let her talk. Maybe stand back, and if she needs you, she'll ask for help. Privacy, like give respect. But do you think that's because, sort of, as a society, we have propped up the police so much as being this all and everything response to everything, and they play on that too, right? Like, where they have the authority to stick their face in wherever they feel they can, whether they're needed or not, whether it's helpful or harmful. Yeah, and it's also accepted in a way, right? Like, well, they're the cops. That's their job. Well, is it? I mean, it certainly shouldn't be.
No, but see, what I see is that it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? So we got to look at that, in my opinion. So it's their job to infiltrate. That's what they do. They're propaganda specialists. I think that there's been a continuing, like when I started at the history. So I'm involved in the frontline outreach because I was lived experience and I worked frontline for years. So I'm not going to stop till I die. I'm going to go down helping. I'm not into this, go down fighting. I mean, if they come at me, I have to fight. But, since 2020, I have been in about 4 physical altercations. I'm 61 today, and I was never in any physical altercations before 2020. And all police state, real estate, gas and oil, military state, Islamophobic, misogynist, sexist, white supremacist, frickin' police state people. I mean, that is the truth. That is what we had to deal with in 2020 in a way. But before then, someone said, Kim, check out this book, Zapatista book, Marcos, come on down, all their talks. It just moved me. Loving, beautiful, loving people, like just incredible, all like just defensive, trying to, like everything that happened there, like just everything, like just think about that. And it sort of helped me start on a particular path of thinking about history, because he kept bringing up particular greed, capitalism, and things that I related to and understood. But then someone said, this other book about where did all the Nazis go after Second World War? They infiltrated, they hid, they went here, there, and everywhere. And even though all these Hollywood movies are like, oh, sleeper people are going to wake up, suddenly defend, even though people like me saw that, like, I'm going to wake up and suddenly defend the community, like, from how we got white supremacist Nazis who think that's about them. So we had January 6th. And here in Victoria, we had people who were Trump, Islamophobe type people suddenly emboldened from 2016 on and 2020. And thank goodness all this community came out. And look at the police force that had to come out for people who loved and cared, like loving and caring for unhoused. So I just wanted to say that the thing about the police state, people are lifting it up because of fear, years and years and years of them infiltrating. But when I worked in the field at Alpha House, I was trained to have boundaries professionally with the police, protect the client's privilege, protect their privacy. Don't ever talk to other people about a client. It's just so important. Right. And I followed strictness and never in a high and mighty way, but just kind of like I'd say, I can't talk about Jeff. I can't talk about Jeff, but how are you? Or if a police comes and says, like, where's Jeff? Like, come on, I can't tell you about that.
Do you think it would be helpful for the more general populace to understand the origins of police, particularly the RCMP?
Absolutely.
I did this post over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, stating that the RCMP were created as a tool of genocide.
Yeah.
And they were, right? I mean, and it's hard for people to grapple that, but it's true because they were created to make way for our expansion. And when I say our expansion, I do say European. My ancestors as well. Yeah. My family were heavily involved in the church as well, and there's a lot that I need to come to terms with myself with that. But the origins of police and the origins of RCMP were not the origins were not that we're going to serve and protect people. Exactly. That came later as I think a kind of a whitewash, right? Like how can we make ourselves look good and justify these overinflated, bloated budgets that we get, including in this city where we're talking. John Tory talks about well, he's on the police services board, by the way. But where are we going to get this money for this? And talking to the federal government, we need more money for services, and yet we're looking at the police budget going, hello, there's your answer right there. There's your money. There's your money. Stop policing people, invest in communities, and invest in the foundation, so everyone at the very least has a house. They've got food, they've got community. We don't need the cops for that. We don't need cops for 90% of what they do, And it blows my mind that no matter how much advocacy happens on the ground level, for example, one thing we talked about last week, during, I think it was in the same year of all those invasions of the encampments, there was a thing called a path forward that was put together by, if I'm not mistaken, Diana McNally and a few others. Maybe someone can correct me on that. And it was basically people on the ground working on the front lines, putting together a doc, making it easy. Here it is. Here is laid out. Here are the solutions. Here's what you need to do. We've made it easy for you. And John Tory wouldn't even table it. He wouldn't even look at it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So I know you understand this too, but I feel like I saw a tweet the other day where someone said, stop sending me petitions. Stop telling me to scream at our premier. Stop. We've been doing this and doing this and doing this and doing this. What has changed? Nothing has changed.
Well,
so of course, people have lost faith in our complete governance system. I have too.
Oh yeah.
Well, so who do we turn to if we do all the things we do legally? We do it by the law. We do it by the book. We petition. We appeal. Here we are with John Tory again for another 3 years. Nothing has changed. He now has strong mayor powers, which means 30% of the council need to agree on what he says. So where has all that gotten us? it feels like nowhere. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not
Well,
knocking those efforts, because those efforts are, I applaud everyone. Like, so much love and admiration for everyone who's put the work into it. But we're dealing with a system that really doesn't give a fuck.
Well,
So
I mean, this is the thing
where do we
that
go
people
from
have
there?
to. Well, the thing is, you asked a question I think is important. Do we need more education for the public? Yes, absolutely. Because, I mean, people don't know the reality of the past, and the media is the machine that it is, eats up people's fucking brains and confuses the heck out of people. It's made people do, you know, insane things, like literally like, you know, we don't have to, like, we know what's happened, where Facebook and other social media has been used, predominantly Facebook, to go, you know, people have gone out and started killing people in countries, and, you know, things of this nature have happened. It's disgusting. It's a mess. Facebook and all that stuff is a mess. But, like, has it changed? Yes. I'm 61, from poverty, north end of Winnipeg, was homeless, worked the front line, and I know that it's a systemic issue that anywhere you go, humans will take care of each other. If you go to a refugee camp in another country, so there's a story, what do you call it? A graphic novel I read. A woman went to another country refugee camp. She figured she'd be able to go help. She learned when she got there, oh God, do I ever have a lot to learn? You know, I thought I was going to help. Whoa, I need to learn and help at the same time, big time. So she did this graphic novel, and it's incredible. One scene I want to remind people or bring up right now. And think about the 10 cities here. And I saw the connection. So there's a global situation. Has there been change? Yes. So much so that now we are fucking here. And, you know, like every time there's a new government, we think we're going to be able to make change. It's like, well, hello, hang on a second. It's the people who always have made the change. We know this, right? People have made government do things, and then the government keeps moving towards colonialism and greed. Doesn't fucking matter. Every X amount of years, the government changes, and then you can keep going through this situation back and forth like a tennis game. But things have changed because people have learned. Why are they trying to control the media so much? Is because people have learned. But in this refugee camp, when an area and people start cooking, and the community around somehow gets these things to the people, and mums and uncles and people start coming forward and they start cooking for people. The military police or from the city nearby, or the closest detachment, will come in on a day and begin to destroy it. And everybody is told, like that American who went there to save everybody and help, who realized she did a great graphic novel. She was told, do not try and be, oh, you know, you shouldn't be doing this. Just stay out of their way or you will get hurt. And
You
just
remind me of the border patrols that were poking the water jugs at the border.
Yeah.
Did you see footage of that? People left these water jugs for people fleeing, and there's footage of border patrol actually using knives to poke holes in the water jugs to empty them all. Like, it's so violent and so, like,
it's unbelievable.
I can't even wrap my head around that.
Well, and that's why it's really important that I brought up Zapatista, because we need self-defense. We need community. We don't need to become militarized in the way that they are. There's more, like, if you go everywhere you go.
We need to be organized, that's for sure. Organizing for sure.
Community self-defense is absolutely important. You know, the Colorado Springs shooter, the reason why that didn't go worse is because in queer communities, especially there, I'm from Calgary. So back in the late 79, 78, 80, 81, like, you know, all those years, 72, you needed to be hyper alert. We were shot at, the dance floor was shot at the Parkside Continental.
Right. And that shooter was subdued, and yet over 100 cops in Texas could not take down one guy.
Yeah, and what do? They subdue, they hold them down, the cops come, and the way they reported to the news, they still trying to make themselves look good. And then they made that guy who helped sit in the back of a car for an hour. And so
he was pretty much criminalized for the first hour, right? And meanwhile, his family and friends are inside, and he's worried about what's going on with them. You know what? So, okay, 11 minutes. I feel like there are so so we're definitely going to have some more lives, because
Yeah.
the police state alone is its own conversation. There's so many things that you've touched on that I've written down here that are like, there is one topic for live. There's another topic for live, because there's just so much to talk about. And,
but can
and
I
so
just
many intersections, right? Sorry, yeah.
I just want to quickly answer the day-to-day, is that so that I go out and do the outreach.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, please.
I just to end it in a quick sentence now that I know we're wrapping up. I go out to do.
I still have a couple more questions though, but yeah.
Yeah, no, but to witness the police, witness the bylaw, witness the private security. As I'm out there, checking on unhoused, and there is a rights for encampments leaflet that Make the Shift has made. It's really a good idea that we bring it out to all the people who are unhoused. It helps to empower them to know their rights. Very, very, very important. And we learn together, because we need to remind the world through our media, our own media, that these are our community, because the police really stigmatize them every day, 24/7. The police state lead in the social stigmatizing of our unhoused citizens, our indigenous community, poor BIPOC, and all BIPOC. It's they're the ones who lead, and it has gotten worse and worse and worse and worse, and it's gotten worse everywhere. Like you said, the water things, worse than that, and I don't want to get into it, but there's worse than that kind of stories every day happening. A friend on Twitter, Lauren, they're on Twitter. They do a lot of awesome posts. They are a night owl like me, but it's because they have to, because they hear the police every night. They go out with their camera. They come from privilege. They take advantage of that privilege. They're white lineage as well. And I really respect that they take advantage of that, but they just get treated unbelievably by the police right now, man. And it's different than how I get treated, because I'd be down handcuffed pretty quick. For some reason now, this is happening to me, and I've never been arrested until I got red zoned illegally by the Vic PD with help from bylaw and private security, starting at Central Park. I didn't figure it out right away, but the private security started saying, "What are you doing here? Bylaw said you're not supposed to be here." Ooh, and I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking to me like that for?" Like, unbelievable. Holy mackerel, talk about rights abuses. And this is the police leading that. And then they moved the tent city to a parking lot because of the flood, and they were mad at me and Crystal Loughton for letting the world know about how the people were, the condition of them. I called the police goons. They didn't like that. I can't help but be honest. My mom would say, "Oh, Kimmy, you can't help." She. Anyways, all that to say, I was asked by Unhoused. I'm Leon, living and lived Experience of Homelessness Network. We're meant to help each other, be with each other. Why can't we have community? So one of them, gets a hold of me. "Kim, can you come over? I want to talk to you." "Oh, what's up?" "Someone asked me to be on a podcast, and I really like to talk to you." And I was like, so honored. I was like, "Yeah, that's awesome." Because I'm like, "Fuck yeah, that's cool. He's going to be on a podcast." Because that's what I'm all about. I've been, encouraging. He's been helping bring food tent to tent. We started bringing food, Red Cedar Cafe, Ben Isid, Red Cedar Cafe. We started bringing food tent to tent twice a day. People at Beacon Hill built a shower. Community built a sink. City workers built a sink. Lots of things happened, even in Toronto, right? But the police hated it. Why? Since World War II, there's been an infiltration in all our police forces of fucking Nazis. Let's get real, right? And the blue thin line, the imperial police chiefs. Look at Vancouver. Oh man, we got to be helping Vancouver. But we also got to look at the fact that that's what's coming in all our areas. And it's like, we say why? It's like, because every time we come together, the cops come to divide. That's why. Why? Because that's their goal. It's like, so when we come together and help each other, treat people with humanity, say fuck MAID, offering MAID to people who can't find housing.
That's a topic for a whole other live too, right?
Like the guy in Toronto, he got support. He's not taking MAID anymore. Oh wow, Isn't that something? He got support.
And why? Because people came together to support him. It's not because
Yeah.
it was a service provided to him, right? Like that was
Exactly.
an example of us coming together
Yeah.
to support someone in need
Yeah.
when our own fucking government won't do it, you know?
Yeah.
Okay,
Because
6 minutes. I really want to...
Wait, just 1 second. Okay, they can't. Wait, though, because they can't. So John Horgan,
Right.
Premier BC, when Creek blockade, when the RCMP and Surrey and all those people started attacking Indigenous, pulling them out of the group of white lineage people, we all saw it. It was upsetting. John Horgan called the RCMP and said, hey, man, stop. And what did they do? That's what they did to the Premier. He ended up, I'm not kidding, okay? He ended up looking into what he can do because RCMP are not listening to him. And what can he do under his capacity, by law, under capacity, by all the governing stuff that dictates to him what he can and cannot do. It's so fucked up, but it's true.
Yeah.
So he looks into replacing the RCMP, getting rid of them, and that means like an Ontario police force in here in BC. And then he ends up having to get private security. His health goes down, and now David Eby is the leader of BC. Think about that. Now, I'm not I'm a radical anarchist feminist, and I'm not one of these accelerationist anarchists. No, I'm not. But the government is pushing that. The government, it doesn't matter who you get in, there's a system of play. It's called colonialism, and it keeps making things happen. And so in Ontario, you now have mayors can have all that power. But here in Victoria, would that help Marianne Alto? And I'm thinking, I don't think so. I think everything always ends up helping the right-wing psychos and the Greek capitalists. Everything's smooth for them. But someone like Marianne, even if we had the same law, would it help Marianne? With the
Well, I guess it depends on whether you're propping up and continuing the system that is oppressing so many people.
Well, no,
whether you're not, right? And also I feel like in a weird way, this gives me a bit of hope.
Good.
It's like a cornered animal.
Yeah.
That lashes out. I feel like a lot that system that is in place and the power structures that are in place are very threatened by a lot of the actions that take place by people on the ground, and why they respond so violently.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's because there is a real threat posed to that system. Yeah. And it is like a cornered animal where, okay, I'm going to just give it my all here because, you know, we can't lose this power. 3 minutes though, please let me turn to this, the Creamus, the overview of encampments across Canada. And I feel like we're going to do another live and we're going to dive into this a bit more, I think. Can you give us a quick overview of what this is about? December 2nd is the deadline. Yeah. Go for it.
Okay, so I'm hoping, is there anybody in the, like, are people making comments that I can't see that you can see?
I don't think so. I see people joining. I don't see comments. I hope not, because I'm missing them if they are.
That's cool.
I mean, I hope people are, but you know what I mean. I just hope there aren't any there that I'm not seeing.
Yeah.
But anyway, yes. Overview of encampments across Canada. What is the call out?
The federal housing person whose name, if you can look at the call out there, my memory with my 2 overdoses is bad, but the awesome woman who we are really lucky to have in that position of the federal housing advocate, her and that sort of community of people. I've seen different names from the homeless hub and that kind of thing. Legal type people. Make the Shift. Make the Shift is a movement that came out of Elena Farrar, who was Ottawa. She was the UN rapporteur in for housing, and in a feminist Palestinian. She has Palestinian lineage. You know, her understanding, organizing. You know, Canadian organizing, like, just unbelievable. She started a movement based on a film and her work So the film is Push the Film, and they have a podcast called Pushback Talks. And I highly recommend it. Push the Film and Pushback Talks, just so that we can all get caught up with the greed capitalist global housing crisis, the real estate crisis, exactly why, where it's coming from, what we can do about it. And you're absolutely right. Like, there is a lot of organizing happening that we never hear about, okay? I went to Ukraine to help. He thought he might have to help fight. He understood the big picture, that this is a U.S. problem, a UN problem. They're fighting in other people's territory. They should all fucking leave the Ukraine alone, but they're not gonna. And we know this now. But anyway, so he went there to help. He ended up just building, which is awesome for him, for his heart. It was good that he didn't have to use a gun, but he was willing to. But he ended up building. He would see the Nazi people within the ranks of the Ukrainian army, and he would see the non-Nazi people, and they're aware of having these men there. And there's way more of that than the media wants us to know. Things are.
Can I bring it
bring it back?
I want people to know more about Cream. So it's cremis.ca. It's cremis.ca.
That I have to learn more about myself, but I think it's the body that is helping host the event. It feels connected to
and there's the webinar coming up on December 2nd.
It's on December 2nd, and I was honored to be asked by Joe Hermer to be on, and as a guest. I was very honored. And part of that is because of the work on the ground that I do, and what's happened with me is becoming a bullseye on my back. I'm in court January 19th for rare bylaw offenses. Remember I told you I was illegally red zoned, and they've been all over. They don't want me out there, and I come out with these rights to encampments leaflets, and they get upset with me. They're trying to build a file on me. It's the weirdest experience to have. But anyway, so this event.
But you're circulating these leaflets as a way for unhoused folks to know their rights and to know where they stand and what they can say to the cops or what they don't have to say.
Yeah. And to community, for community to know. So both things, this is why the police don't like me. I'm about networking. So a lot of community don't know our rights. We don't know the rights of unhoused because we see the police all over them. Look what happened in Hamilton. That made an impression upon people. Seeing people of those young Black Muslim women being attacked and hurt and abused, like assaulted by the state, and what that does to people's mind to make them fear, because they actually think the police are still there to protect them. So there's a weird thing right now that the police are freaked out because more people are hearing and understanding that the police are not there to protect us. More people, so they want to stop our voice. So the thing about being brave and just being loving and being smart with the security culture. Like I try and say to people, come out with me. We need each other. We're dealing with different times now. Okay. Like, that
so
I carry.
I've got a comment. So articulating survival. It's art.iculating survival. Thank you so much for joining us. We've actually sort of DM'd each other back and forth over the time, and they want to know where they can access this leaflet.
Yeah, so on my LLEOHN page, and I'm grabbing the leaflet now, but on my LLEOHN page, I have the exact detail of how to get that leaflet. Here it is. So it's easy to get, and they will email you a PDF, and it's basically, it's email them at info@maketheshift.org. So info at maketheshift.org. They're on Twitter. They're also on Instagram, Make the Shift. So, and they will email it.
Follow them for sure. Yeah. Follow folks. Follow Leon as well. It's LLEOHN.
Yeah.
I think we are. Oh man, I feel so. You're very welcome. Articulating survival. And thank you for what you do too. By the way, please follow
Yeah.
articulating survival. They do amazing work with arts-based stuff here in the
Oh,
city.
oh, and I want to say hi to Colin. I just figured out finally to get in there. Everybody, I'm sorry. It's really good that you joined us. This is awesome. And this is Jeff Berner. Um, right on, man. Yeah, sorry. I just figured out that it's.
No, it's all good. So we've got, so Leon,
Yeah,
follow Make the Shift. I think it might
yeah.
be, there might be an underscore in there somewhere with the Make the
Um,
Shift. But
they are,
search them
yeah,
out. We're gonna do another live, okay,
yeah,
Kim?
yeah,
We're just gonna continue this conversation in our next live.
yeah.
Folks, I just to let you know, ArtHouseTO is going to start doing lives every week. We're going to be showcasing different people, the people that we've been reposting on ArtHouseTO, artists, people working in social equity, social justice, food,
Yeah.
food equity, harm reduction. There's so many. Oh my God. Like, I'm overwhelmed by the amount of amazing humans that we've connected with over the last 2.5 years of this account. And we are working on some ideas too on moving forward. We have an idea in mind of doing Art House TV, which is a program where we want to more formally talk to other people and showcase. And we have a space that I'm in right now as a storefront space in East End of Toronto. We're going to broadcast from where I am right now to do live shows,
Hmm.
interviews, feature people. So stay tuned for all of that. Kim, final words.
Um, okay, yeah. So thank you for helping with this because Leon's been asked to do live, but I had no freaking idea how. And I'm seeing how it's pretty easy. And I'm gonna try and figure out how to do it on the ground out there, or try and get
Well,
some.
let's work together on that because
Yeah,
however
yeah,
I can support that for
yeah.
sure.
But just to finish, so the Portland community has P. I'll try and find it out. Look on my Leon. Portland community has an incredible community who go out and they build tents and they build, up the community to go out and bring these things to the unhoused. So I'm just going to ask in closing, like everybody be brave and go out to the unhoused wherever you are and make those connections. It's important. And reach out to the neighbors. Those two things are really important because we are being abandoned. I'm calling this time the great abandonment. However, it's like we need to wake up to the fact that we need to become an actual democracy. Like they use this term in North Syria and Rahavo and stuff, the radical democracy. How sad that we have to call it that, but we do because democracy has not been. So we need some democracy, and so they're calling it radical democracy. So just get out, connect with people, and learn how to fight. Like I'm saying, I mean, I know someone who learned how to box, a woman at 60. Another woman in her 60s got a black belt in Korean martial arts in Calgary and helped create a class there for seniors because you got to be a bit easier on us. There's grappling. It's like it's not about violence. It's about self-defense. Like stop judging people who are military and vets. Like this, one of them just saved someone's life at the in like we have family who've been in the military who don't want to hurt people, who aren't racist, and we have Nazis in the military. We have family. Well, we need to defund and disband the police. There's just no reforming. It's no reforming. And every good cop I've ever talked with.
Reforming back to what too? When people say reform, what do you mean? It's
Exactly.
like saying going back to a time when everything was great. Well, when was that, and who was it
Yeah.
great for? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
when was there a time where the police were an
Yeah.
altruistic
Yeah.
organization?
And just to finish, like, be really good about wherever you are at, like whatever you do. Don't try and be like Jeff or like Kim or like Colin. And that's really, everybody wants to be a photographer like Colin. But like, just be yourself. Everyone has a gift. Like some people come out, they're very loving. They bring a vibe. And I will always ask them to lead and I will go in and watch their back. That's important. Like we don't need, like, we need that security. Look at in what in not in Texas. I think it was Texas where people who were in the military, who were vets, and also just people in the military went out to defend homeless armed because they were under attack. Like it was, and I was like, they went out armed, and like, and someone said, they're in a state where they're allowed to be armed. But I'm like, whoa, but still, They went out to defend the homeless armed against police in the
Yeah.
United States. That's just below us. So it's like we need to
Like
do.
if we could all embody that same spirit, right? Like,
I'm not saying arm ourselves, but I'm
no, I know
saying,
I'm not either, but
yeah,
I'm just embody that same the
spirit.
spirit of that action, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and be brave. Like if young people in 2020 can be brave and be attacked by that huge militarized police force and all those pictures, and it just was so upsetting. If that can happen and they survive, look what's happening with how many people are being hurt and choosing to die and overdosing deaths, and it's like that doesn't happen. Those are all community people who don't are not comfortable with the society the way it is, and thank God, because it needs to change. So yeah, we all have something to bring to community. We need each other, and together it is something that we can make a big difference and help each other. And there are those who will self-defend. There are those who will put their bodies there and take the beats from the police. I've seen it. You've seen it. I've been there. Like anti-poverty actions. When the police started beating down on people in Vancouver there, like younger like kind of punks and like tough working class people put their bodies in the way so that people who were not able to defend themselves were defended. Like I watched it, and so there is a natural instinct to do that. So like we need to bear witness and also try and heal and have those moments whenever we can. But like, come on, like, yeah, we got healing to do, especially white lineage people. Like just step away and let people lead and support indigenous movements, like BLM, indigenous movements, the homeless, like like in every way. And it's not easy, it's never going to be easy, but in every way, Leon, we have different indigenous unhoused and indigenous who used to be living homeless, who have taken leadership, but we have to be careful to not show them so much because they become a target. So I'm putting myself out to be a target. Not comfortable, but we're white lineage people. We have that privilege to take the target, but we have to keep bringing their voice to our, so that's why I keep bringing up these things, because I'm thinking of that person, they taught me this about, Zapatista, they taught me that about, but I can't always say the name because I don't want them to become a mark. So I really want people to know that, and we struggle, and we're learning to become, what do you call it? Like we're, that whole comrade thing, where anytime we get stuff, we should be going to the indigenous people who are in the community taking leadership. Go to them and say, what do you need? What do you need? And also to the white lineage people, of course. I'm not saying ignore them, but it's like, look at what's going on. It's horrible. You can't help but see since 2020 that, white lineage unhoused, who are bullies and whatever, seem to be having some slippery road there, like an easy path, compared to more indigenous outlaws who don't want to speak to the police, people who just don't want to speak to the police, who have the right. They're having a hard time right now. That's not cool. The people who are Islamophobe, pro-police, bootlickers, mental health issues, transphobic. The police are like, hey, you're my buddy. That's weird. That's weird. So anyways, we're dealing with a lot of ugly that I can't even freaking talk about. But the police don't know the law, and they don't want to know the law. They're there to be bullies and protect capital. Look what's happening here in BC. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Environment.
It's amazing, right? How it's almost acceptable to see cops being so violent towards people that are being activists for the climate, and well, they're just doing their job, and these folks are blocking the way to the bank, kind of thing. And
real.
It's so obvious, right, that the police are there to protect the state and protect property and not people. That's why there's so much violence, and it's all, and like I say, it's accepted in a way, which is to me so fucking sickening that's even accepted when people are putting their lives on the line to protect our planet. And most of the time those people are indigenous people that are putting their lives on the line, because it's most often than not their land that is being threatened, and their community and everything else, right? So man, so many, like I say, Kim, so many intersections here in this conversation that I feel like we could just continue our live all afternoon. I
Well,
don't know if I can upload that video, but we
housing.
are definitely going to chat again for sure.
Yeah,
Let's do another. We're going to
yeah.
do another live. I will post it and promote it to let everyone know ahead of time that it's coming up. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, let's book another one and focus on, we'll start it out with the BC housing going on right now. The leader, who is a woman of color, who's under attack by the Liberals, who are two-faced freaking liars. We'll start the next one on that, and let's book it to people have a week. And thank you for everyone for joining. And
yes.
I'll get more grounded on this, but you know, this is the life on the streets right now.
Hey, this is our first one too, right? This is like, it's you and I, our first one, but it's like ArtHouseTO's first one.
Thank you.
So I think we did okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kim. Much love from Toronto. Thank you, everybody who joined us today too. We really appreciate it. Yeah, stay tuned. Follow ArtHouse. Tell other people to follow ArtHouseTO. Follow LLEOHN. Follow Make the Shift. We're all in this together, and we need to take care of each other. And yeah, solidarity. The more that we can all band together and support each other, the better. The systems are failing us, and we cannot rely on those systems. They're not just failing us, they're actively harming a lot of us as well, right? And we need to support each other and help each other. So thank you so much, Kim. Thank you for all you do. You're a wonderful human, and you are making a difference in this world.
Thank
you. And the world's a better place because you're in it. And what you're
and
doing.
You too.
So,
it's awesome. Matt, that's awesome. Really good. Building the networks.
Well, let's keep doing it. Let's keep doing it and make some real change here, you know? Much love to you. Much love to everybody. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and stay tuned for some more Insta Lives from the ArtHouseTO. All right. Signing off. Much love, everybody.
That's awesome.